Oh, excuse me. Okay. So now we're live on there. Start. Alrighty. Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world today. Happy Sunday, and it's Wealth Talk. This evening, we're going to continue on with Powernomics, and going to read to you the third key to empowerment. I think the evening before we read the second key. So the third key to empowerment is to support Powernomics paradigm that can function as windows through which Black Americans' view of the world is further refined. We must not estimate the importance of having paradigms that guide us to see, think, and behave as a group. Based upon our own self-interest, these two paradigms are ethno-aggression and vertical integration. They align with the Powernomics vision for Black America and shore up intergroup deficiencies and counter the most insidious aspects of structural racism and inappropriate behavior. These Powernomic paradigms are very important tools in our empowerment chest. They are specifically formulated, designed, and engineered to further shape and guide Black people's behavior in the 21st century. The old civil rights paradigm no longer makes sense in a competitive, pseudo-color-blind society. They are not grounded in reality. They have encouraged and prepared Blacks to compromise rather than to compete. Jeff Gates, in his book, Ownership Solution, helped define the role of a paradigm. He stated the word paradigm came from the Greek word for pattern, and it was used by Plato to describe a basic form or image encompassing one's fate and fortune and determining one's destiny. In other words, paradigms are deeply held assumptions or values that operate like models, templates, or patterns. They shape what we see in a cultural and racial context. In particular, applications using the Powernomics vision and paradigms is comparable to dressmaking. The process begins with the dressmaker's vision of the garment he or she wants to create. In the vision, it is clear whether the garment will be a dress or a blouse. After the dressmaker has decided on the nature of the garment, he or she needs a pattern or paradigm to ensure that the pieces cut for the garment are identical to the pattern. The pattern will determine whether the dress will be long or short, have sleeves or gathered waist, or flared skirt. The pattern ensures that all the dresses made from the pattern are the same. Likewise, the Powernomics paradigm will shape our group thinking and behavior, establish a consistent group mindset. and guide Black Americans' collective decision-making. They will reduce conflicts and establish a stage upon which we can act out our respective roles. As much as we would like to believe this nation is a melting pot and that we are invisible, that is not and never has been the case. We are a collection of groups bound together by one national government, but we still have different histories, agendas, cultures, and needs. Black Americans remain outside of the mainstream society. No, it is not. The two paradigms that follow are the next two empowerment keys. They will help Black America to own and control resources so that they can compete inside or outside of the mainstream society. Paradigm 1, ethno-aggregation. Ethno-aggregation is best defined as the voluntary concentration of individuals and their resources around their ethnic or language commonalities for the purpose of improving their economic and political competitiveness. The term ethno-aggregation may be new, but the concept is not. It is a behavior pattern used every day by religious, gender, ethnic, and Spanish-speaking groups. The culture of these groups emphasizes that members rarely around common characteristics or attributes, ethno. In order to pool their collective resources, aggregation, and compete with non-group members, according to the Powernomics plan, the primary purpose for ethno-aggregation is to convert disaggregated Black individuals and groups into a national team and to concentrate their resources. The more concentrated their resources, the greater their impact and competitive advantage will be. For Black Americans, this paradigm is important because it can directly reverse past conditions and is the antidote for Willie Lynchism, a slaveholder plan to divide and conquer Black slaves. Ethno-aggregation encourages Blacks to unify as a people, as an alternative to seeking to unite with others. It encourages Blacks to pool their resources. A fist has greater impact than 5 separate fingers, but a scattered group is like separate fingers. The impact of the 5 fingers working together as a fist has an even stronger impact if directed towards the weakest part of a competitive force. An aggregated group has a competitive advantage over a group whose resources are scattered. Likewise, ethno-aggregation is most effective when resources are scattered. Likewise, Likewise, ethno-aggregation is most effective when the resources are organized and directed. Blacks already ethno-aggregate every time they attend all Black churches and participate in the Million Man March. In politics, we have voted as a bloc within both the Republican or the Democratic Party. And although we have seldom received direct benefits, our collective voting has testified to our political strengths and our ability to ethno-aggregate. We must now learn to be more strategic with our ability to ethno-aggregate in politics and learn how to unite and concentrate our financial resources to achieve group economic goals, just as whites and ethnic immigrants have done for centuries. Examples of ethno-aggregation. Our society is replete with examples of how whites and ethnic groups aggregate for political and economic competitive advantages in the marketplace. Organizing begets group power. Before the Black Civil Rights Movement, Europeans, English, Jews, Irish, Germans, and Italians used their togetherness as a social and economic foundation. American Indians have been successful in using their ethnic image and treaty rights to hold on to reservations lands and government subsidies. In recent years, they have enjoyed windfall wealth from their approximately of 257 gambling casinos permits. Newly arrived ethnic and language groups aggregate their resources to build political and economic communities such as Chinatowns like Little Koreas, Little Cambodia, Little Saigons, Little Vietnams, and Little Havanas. All of the above. Miami's Cuban community in South Florida represents probably the most visible model of ethno-aggregation in the country. Cubans control the political and economic activities of South Florida, which has become their home turf. As they came into the country, they first rallied around their common language characteristics. Then they voluntarily aggregated into the same neighborhoods and established businesses. Next, they began to compete with non-members of their group. They took control of the politics, the schools, and dominated the language. They took pride in being a closed society. They are very nationalistic and sometimes even push the rule of law. In political and economic terms, Cubans have placed the flag in the ground around Little Havanas, Hialeah, and South Florida, from behind their Latin culture and Spanish language. They aggressively intervene in international affairs. They play a key role in radio programming being directly at Cuba via satellite for the sole purpose of erasing or interfering with Cuba's regular radio broadcasting. They have flown airplanes into Cuba, are spaced to drop leaflets and interfere with the Castro government. They have rallied around common characteristics, pooled their resources, and improved their economic and political standing. Cubans in South Florida require those who come into their area to play their game by their rules. Within one generation, Cuban immigrants economically and politically subordinated Black Miamians and became a political challenge to whites throughout the state of Florida. Arab immigrants in and around Detroit are probably the second best of ethno-aggregation. They began coming into this country about the same time as Cubans in the late 1960s. And like Cubans, they ethno-integrated to such an extent that within a 30-year period, they totally subordinated Blacks in selected cities and have begun to challenge the majority white society for both wealth and power. approximately 275,000 Arabs immigrated into the Dearborn, Michigan, and Detroit areas initially. In that short time period, Arabs built the largest, wealthiest, and most powerful political base outside of the Middle East. They invest their profits to build more businesses in Black communities. They almost exclusively hire their own people and refuse to buy from Black businesses. Black Detroiters serve as a large concentrated consumer pool that Arabs use to enrich themselves and their countries of origin. Detroit is an 82% Black city, according to the article in Detroit News, Metro Edition, July 8th, 1999. Arabs, who constitute less than 1% of the city's metropolitan area population, have taken control of 90% of the city's gas stations, grocery stores, party stores, discount strip malls, and medical supply businesses. According to the article, Arab businesses were so profitable last year that their owners sent $69 million back to their homelands to help Arabs who were fighting with Israel in the Middle East. This drain of capital weakened Black Detroit, but it strengthened the developing Arab communities. Once Arab immigrants aggregated and concentrated their resources in and around Detroit, they increasingly used their acquired economic power to obtain local political power. Arabs know that politics follows the money. In this regard, it was reported that when Al Gore, the Vice President of the United States, visited Detroit in the summer of 1999, he chose to meet with the top 100 Arab businesses, not the Black political leadership. Arabs pledged heavily financial support to Gore, and in return for their financial pledges, they asked for greater business opportunities in Black Detroit. Arabs are now in the phase of ethno-aggregation, where they are beginning to use the wealth and power they acquired from Blacks to politically and economically subordinate Blacks, to shore up, protect, and give credibility to their ethno-aggregation. Detroit Arabs hold street festivals and encourage Blacks and whites to attend. They engender pride in their own people by promoting their culture, religion, and language, while masking over the economic competitiveness that they are conducting against Blacks in Detroit. It is their ethno-aggregation that gives Arab immigrants their competitive advantages over Black Americans. They use their cultural togetherness to compete for economic and political resources. Even though Arabs may have religious differences with Jews and some Christians, they are still classified as whites and receive the advantages of a higher level of social acceptability than Blacks. Arab immigrants use their ethnic advantages by remaining an identifiable non-assimilated group, politically and economically linked into a nation of international network. All right, the implications for the Black America. Arab immigrants in limited ways can be powerful example of Blacks who have integrated out of Black neighborhoods. Arab immigrants see clearly why they ought to ethno-integrate and remain culturally and financially connected to their own people and their own power base. Blacks, on the other hand, have been continuously weakened by events from the diaspora, slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, and integration, all of which have made Blacks a scattered group. The ethno-aggregation paradigm is specifically designed to shore up the weakness created by the involuntary and voluntary scattering of Black people. Power itself always exists in concentrated forms. The application of ethno-aggregation will create mindsets that provide incentives for Black people to learn, to pull together, to concentrate our power, resources, and compete with various ethnic minorities, as well as the majority monopolies identified in Chapter 1. With the mindset of the ethno-aggregation, we will begin to have more control over our own fate, regardless of what the majority society decides. One way to explain ethno-aggregation is to view it as a form of voluntary separation. Just like Little Italy and Greektown are separate ethnic encaves. More specifically, ethno-aggregation signals that we as Black people have gone in full route of integration and have found it wanting. Now we want to pull back a little to voluntarily interact with members of our own race. Actually, our greatest competitive advantage rests in being neither integrated nor forcibly segregated. Jews, American Indians, Hispanics, Asians, and Arabs have the option to assimilate, but have chosen instead to maintain separate the option to assimilate, but have instead of separate institutions, organizations, and communities. Like them, we as Black people want the same option to have, own, and control our own institutions, organizations, and communities. Our first step to group empowerment is to develop communities in which to practice ethno-aggregation. Blacks are the only group in America that do not have communities. We have residential neighborhoods. Chapter 3 discusses community building in detail and the difference between communities and neighborhoods. Decades of integration causes an exodus of middle and upper middle class professional Blacks, the backbone of our community, into the white suburbs, thus weakening the cohesiveness of earlier Black neighborhoods and making it difficult physically and psychologically to identify and amass our group resources. We are still stemmed under racial segregation, while under racial segregation, white indifference to Black communities allow Blacks to have Black business and a sense of community. But while we could aggregate our resources, we were never allowed to use those resources to achieve a group goal or to function as fully independent and competitive communities. So that is the third key of empowerment and what we need to do to come together and gather our resources as Black people and begin gaining our power back. And it all starts with our mindset. I wanted to share that with you, as well as I wanted to share the book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And I'm going to be reading from the chapter that says enthusiasm. It's on page 102, if anyone has the book and wants to follow. It reads, enthusiasm is one of your most important assets. It is an infectious state of mind which gets for you the cooperation of other people, attracting them to your way of thinking and acting. When you are enthusiastic about where you are going, people notice it and make way for you. In fact, the world makes way for those who know where they are going. According to the dictionary, enthusiasm means to be inspired, possessed by God, intense or eager, interest, zeal. It comes from the Greek roots in theos, meaning God, within. In ancient times, enthusiasm was associated with supernatural inspiration or possession. This supernatural aspect was a result of the infectious nature of enthusiasm in attracting the attention and cooperation of others. Enthusiasm operates as an invisible and powerful force of human magnetism, attracting or repelling that which you desire in your life experience. Thus, it is a powerful force at your command, eager to carry out your wishes and fed by the thoughts you hold constantly in your mind. He breaks it down into types of enthusiasm. There are two types of enthusiasm: animated enthusiasm and genuine enthusiasm. Each type is related to the source of motivation, which stimulates its existence. There are two primary sources of motivation: external and internal. External motivation manifests as fear motivation or reward motivation. As children, fear and reward are our first motivational experience. Internal motivation manifests as self-motivating or spiritual motivation. We develop internal motivation as we become older and more knowledgeable. Animated enthusiasm is based on external motivation. It is created or manufactured emotion which is stimulated by fear or reward. In other words, you pretend or act enthusiastic based on your knowledge, experience, or belief that it will work for you. Genuine enthusiasm is based on internal motivation. It can be created by animated enthusiasm, which is consistently and continuously exercised. When you act enthusiastically, when you act enthusiastically, you are enthusiastic. Acting and becoming occur simultaneously. The magic power of enthusiasm is effective regardless of whether it is animated or genuine. The relationship between animated and genuine enthusiasm is like that of the natural magnetism of magnitude, iron found in the earth, and artificial induced magnetism, which results from passing an electrical current through certain metals, an electronic magnet. The power of human magnetism is that its natural force is under your control, within your own thoughts and consciousness. When you create enthusiasm by intentionally acting enthusiastic, you are priming your pump. Once you get totally into the part or vision you wish to project, your affected enthusiasm becomes genuine. Your human magnetism then springs from the internal consciousness of self and God. The strength of the magnetism is based on the level of your self-confidence and the quality of your faith and relationship with God. Generating enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one of your important success habits. You should make a habit of doing everything with eagerness, class, and style. A high level of enthusiasm should be demonstrated in everything you do. Nothing is so unimportant as to do it without enthusiasm. When you act enthusiastically, you are enthusiastic. Manifestations of enthusiasm. Your enthusiasm is manifest in every aspect of your being. It is in the sound of your voice, your tone, your motion and movements, and the look in your eyes. Enthusiasm is shown by your walk, your gait, the way you shake hands and hold your head and mouth. It should express itself as an intense eagerness for life and living. Walk through the world like a champion with class and style. How to generate enthusiasm? Have a great sense of expectancy each day. Maintain a great day attitude in all that you do. Constantly say to yourself, this is a great day for work, sharing and being happy. When you project a great day attitude, you radiate a positive magnitude force which will attract a great day into your experience of life. Things seem to go your way. You are in the right place at the right time. People and things you are looking for appear just when you need them. Your sense of expectancy becomes a blueprint for your day. That which you expect and project with feeling, you attract each day. Each day brings you that which you ask of it. Realize that you can control your mind, your thoughts, your feelings and emotions, and your actions. You are the captain of your ship and the master of your destiny. No one and nothing can take control of your mind unless you permit it. Remember, you are both the gardener and the garden. Weeds, negative, unproductive thoughts, and feelings can only grow if you let them. When you let weeds grow in the garden, that is your life, either by doing nothing or by doing ineffective things. You have given up control of your life. Take control of your thoughts and your feelings, for they are the blueprint of your life. You become what you think about most of the time. Realize that any state of mind is contagious. The nature and quality of your thoughts represent your state of mind. Your state of mind is projected through your attitude, is a powerful force. It influences and interacts with the state of mind of others. If your state of mind is negative, you radiate a negative attitude to others who will respond accordingly. A positive state of mind will radiate a positive attitude, which will influence others to respond favorably, attracting them to you, to your way of thinking and acting. Realizing that your personal appearance presents a picture of who you are, what you are about, and where you are going. Your physical appearance is primary manifestation of your state of mind. You cannot deceive your own thoughts. What you physically appear to be in reality is in fact the physical representation of the nature and quality of your state of mind. Maintain a consistent level of enthusiasm at all times. Some people constantly fluctuate from the heights of enthusiasm to the depths of negativity. This fluctuation results from their inner thoughts and inner feelings being inconsistent with and out of harmony with each other. Strive to maintain a balanced, harmonic state of mind centered on positive thoughts of work, love, sharing, and joy. A balanced, positive state of mind never runs out of enthusiasm. So I wanted to share those things with you this evening because that's what it's going to take for us to come together. Taking control of our mind, getting on one accord, identifying what our core goal is, and moving forward to build our economic power. Economic and political power is what Powernomics, Dr. Claude Anderson talks about. And that's what this is all about. Growing, learning, and healing. We all do it. We're building sustainable families. And in order to build sustainable families, we have to look at each member of the family, starting with ourselves first. Knowing who we are, knowing what it is that we want out of life. And even if you don't know what it is that you want out of life, knowing who you are and knowing whose you are will help guide your steps as you go through the things of life, because life on life terms, we are powerless over them. So the only thing that we do have control over is what we think about, what we have observed, experienced for ourselves, and what is the observation, experience? And I forget what the other one was. But through our observation and our experience, we form our own perspective of ourselves, our lives, what it means, where we're going, where we want to go, what our life should look like. And we know that all the time things aren't going to be perfect. But if in your mind it's already perfect, the world will give you back what you're putting out there. So that's why it's important that we continue to build our mindset and continue to develop personally, so that we can go out and obtain the knowledge that we need to build ourselves first, so then we can go out and build others. Pretty much like I said, I think I said it yesterday, I'm not sure, walking the walk and talking the talk. It all goes together. As we get ready to close out tonight, because I'm not going to stay for the full hour, I just saw this today and I wanted to read it. As I talk about, as you are building yourself, as you are becoming more aware of who you are, what do you want out of life, going after and pursuing your dreams. I tell you all the time, self-care is a big part of it, because you're going to work harder for yourself than you work for anybody else. And it doesn't mean that working hard, that you're going to actually be working hard, or like the work is hard. It just means that growth comes with pain. From my experience, during my times of pain is when I grew the most, because that was when I was the most challenged to really maintain my composure, to keep an eye on my thoughts, behaviors, what I spoke, and actually what I did, how I responded to the stimulation that was going on around me, and or the experience that I was experiencing. And it takes a lot to remain calm when the world around you is kind of chaotic. It's something that takes everyday practice. It's not something that you learn it overnight. I guess it could be in you as a person, is part of your makeup, part of who you are. But I tell you all the time that I wouldn't be where I am right now today if it wasn't for the creator of my life and God, which I call him, being a big important force in my life. Reading the word, not reading the word, but just knowing the word. See, because a lot of times you think that you got to read the word, hear the word is good, reading the word is good. But I wonder some days, like, how do the blind read the word? How do the deaf hear the word? How do the mute speak the word? How do they know? And I've come to the conclusion that God lives within us. He's in every fiber of our being. So whether you read it, hear it, or speak it, it's already in you. And God never leaves you. We walk away from him, but he never leaves us. And he holds us together. And I know there's a lot of different things around religion, but this isn't religion. This is just facts that I'm sharing from my own life experience, that when I put my faith and trust in him, he carries me through whatever I'm going through. Doesn't mean it's going to end fast. It just means that I know that everything in life is temporary. Your sadness, your happiness, your joy, all these things is given to us for a time. If we didn't experience the different things, joy, pain, hurt and sorrow, happiness and things of that nature, we wouldn't appreciate it when it came around. We wouldn't even know what to be happy for if we were always happy. So I want to read this real quickly, and then I'm going to let you all go for your Sunday evening. And I thank you for your presence and allowing me to come and disrupt your evenings and sharing the knowledge that I'm acquiring at this time with you. So it's a little hard for me to elaborate on something that I'm learning myself and taking in. I just thought it would be great if we all could learn together. And like I always say, you can pick up the books at for Powernomics. You can go to powernomics.com to get the collection of books for Dr. Claude Anderson. They're there. They're great reads, as you see. That way you can read as I'm reading along, and maybe we can begin starting some dialogue, because that's really where it stems. Everything begins to grow. We come together, we start sharing and throwing our ideas together and picking out the best ideas to figure out how we can move forward, right, for our lives. So this is titled, Go to Him in Prayer. It says, in the silvery dew of dawning, I go to him in prayer, and I seek his face each morning in the quiet hour of prayer. In the burning heat of noontime, in his shadow I will rest. For I know that though I'm weary, he will lead me to the best. In the changing hues of evening, at the closing of the day, in the secret of his presence, I can dwell as here I pray. In the blackness of dark midnight, in security I sleep. For the one I love and follow ever watches over his sheep. Charles Ramsey. God is beside us each step of the way, if only we lean on his arm as we pray. His love is eternal, and help can be wrought if faith is applied in each prayer and each thought. Out of this life, I shall never take the things of silver and gold I make. All that I now cherish and hoard away after I leave on this earth will stay. Though I have toiled for a painting rare to hang on the wall, I must leave it there. Though I call it mine and boast its worth, I must give it up when I leave this earth. All that I gather and all that I keep, I must leave behind when I fall asleep. And I often wonder what I shall own in the other life when I pass alone. What shall I find and what shall they see in the soul that answers the call for me? Shall the greater judge learn when my task is through that my spirit has gathered riches too? Or shall at least it be mine to find that all I had worked for, I had left behind? Happiness resides not in possessions and not in gold, for happiness lives in the soul. The things we do will soon be past unless we do the things that last. The life we build may never stand if we should build on sinking sand. The worldly things for which we slave can never bring us from the grave. But things that come from up above, like charity and truth and love, will always be eternally. The riches coming from above are worth their weight in gold. For joy and peace and faith and love are things that can't be sold. For everybody has a gift of mind and heart and soul, a gift that gives us all a lift and makes our spirit whole. For fame and fortune, wealth and power, do not consummate, bring. They last a short and fleeting hour and are a passing thing. And all the things that dollars buy will into dust decay. But good that comes from God on high will never pass away. And that's from the Gifts of Life, ladies and gentlemen. This book right here, my mother, it belonged to my mother. And I just wanted to share that with you. Books are powerful, even this little pamphlet. We all can leave something behind, something to make the world a little better than what we left it. As we begin this week, ladies and gentlemen, remember that you are a winner from the time you were conceived in your mother's womb, and you're born with all that you need to make your life the best life that you can make it. But you have to decide what it is that is going to make your life the best life that you can live. It's all up to you. Do your self-assessments, see where you are, and just begin where to start. You have to decide where to start. Remember to write your plans down. Make a list of goals. If you don't have goals, begin making a list. It all begins there. You can look at your goals, the things that you wish to achieve in your life, and start breaking them down from there and start working towards them. It might take you some time, but that's okay, because with each step and each day, you're going to be moving towards your goal and you're going to grow in every way. So with that being said, have a wonderful, blessed, amazing week, everybody. Don't forget to go out here and be awesome. Talk to you later. See you later to the Facebook group. Goodbye to YouTube. Thank you for joining us.